I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. It is Dave. You are back with the Overcoming Distractions crew. And you know what? What do you say we have a little fun today? Well, I love fun. If you've listened to the podcast, you've listened to our numerous guests, you know that we like to laugh a lot, okay? But it's just me today. And I was just thinking, because I continue to see these, annoying things pop up. Ignorance about ADHD, right? Now, before I even get rolling, I just want to make it clear that this podcast episode is not meant to piss you off. It's meant to bring a little light to some of the misconceptions of adult ADHD. As you well know, ADHD, adult ADHD, is often misunderstood, and there are several myths surrounding it. And I think for most of us, you'd agree that there are, not many people that, get us, quote unquote. They don't know why we do the things we do or don't do the things we need to, right? Okay. Some people just don't get us. Sometimes that could be friends. It could be colleagues. Sometimes, for some of us, it could be our manager or our boss or somebody in leadership, which is a bigger problem, okay? And maybe we need to have another episode about that. We've done episodes about accommodations. Maybe it's time to revisit that or having those discussions. But we all know it. We've all seen it if we've been online for any length of time, that there are a number of myths about adult ADHD. So I just wanted to come on and I wanted to chat about a handful of these real quick that I think are some of the more prominent, if that's the right word, myths about adults and ADHD. So, you know what? Let's just dig right into it. The first one, and I can't believe you've never heard this one before, but ADHD is just a childhood disorder, they call it, right? Okay. Well, this isn't true. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to me right now. Correct? One of the most pervasive myths is that ADHD only affects children, and then they grow out of it, or it disappears as kids grow older. However, once again, I'm going to say this a bunch of times, ADHD, as you know, can persist into adulthood. That's the audience of this podcast. We don't talk about kids or teenagers or getting schoolwork done. This is the podcast for professional, busy adults with ADHD. But many adults, like us, we can remain undiagnosed, or I've seen in many discussions, misdiagnosed as other types of challenges. So, it affects how we work, how we remember important things, how we plan, how we organize, etc., etc. And I've lost count how many people I've worked with who are adults who told me that they just got diagnosed with ADHD, say, in the past couple of years. Some of them in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, right? Just getting diagnosed. So I know you agree because, again, you're listening to this, but ADHD is not just for kids anymore, right? Okay? That's the first one. The second one, ADHD is not a real disorder, just an excuse for laziness or a lack of discipline. All right. If you're new here and maybe you do have some doubts, I'll just say this. ADHD is a clinically recognized, they're calling it a disorder. We probably need to change that terminology too, right? Supported by a ton of scientific research over the years. And it's not simply a matter of us being lazy or a lack of discipline. Do adults with ADHD need to implement more discipline? Absolutely. But that's not the entire picture. And we need to get the word out. As you know, it involves differences in our brain structure and our functioning. It impacts our attention, executive functions, which we talk about, we have talked about numerous times here, our impulse control. Okay? There is scientific studies, there are brain scans, there are everything else about ADHD, and I don't know why we still have this discussion, but here we are. I've seen a lot of this because there's certain people that put crap out online saying it's just an excuse for college kids to get Adderall. And sure, other groups of college kids trying to get Adderall because they're working, trying to get their homework done that maybe do not have ADHD, but realize that, hey, if I take an Adderall, I can do my college exam for 2 days straight, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But that just isn't the whole picture. Okay. And explain to us why a 40-year-old highly educated professional, like many of you out there, can have trouble navigating your workload, right? Okay. So there we are. Next. People with ADHD can't focus at all. That's another one. I mean, obviously, difficulty focusing is one of our common challenges of adult ADHD. It's not accurate to say that individuals with ADHD can't focus at all. Instead, I would say that we may struggle with sustaining attention on certain things that, quite frankly, don't stimulate us or are not interesting to us. And we can hyperfocus on tasks or even just get into tasks that captivate our interest, That's why having a good job and a good career and passion and aligning your values with your work means so much to people with ADHD. Because if those things aren't in check, we check out. We don't pay attention. So, but aside from the hyper-focus that I just mentioned, many of us can get into a state of flow if we have the right environment. We minimize our distractions. We minimize the interruptions. And I have to be honest, I don't think I've really fallen into that hyper-focus state that many times over the years. But as a busy entrepreneur and somebody who ran a PR firm for many years, something that I loved until the industry changed, flow was my friend. And I did what I needed to achieve that state. And we're going to talk about that in an upcoming episode because I think the value of flow is very underrated. If you can work on, say, one project for an entire day and you can get into it and, really create quality work and less mistakes and just creativity and all that, flow is awesome. Okay? So, like I said, we can focus. I know we can focus. ADHD only affects boys. That's another one that it's like an age-old myth, okay? And I've worked one-on-one with many people over the years, and I can tell you that a bigger percentage of women than men is who I work with one-on-one. But many say ADHD is diagnosed more frequently in boys than girls. And that doesn't mean that girls or women don't have ADHD. That's not accurate. but girls and women may exhibit different symptoms or cope with ADHD differently. Again, maybe leading to that underdiagnosis or even a misdiagnosis or just nothing at all. I like to say the boys were tearing apart the classroom while the girls were staring out the window. And that can be part of the reason why so many women are diagnosed later in life. Us boys got the attention, or some of us got the detention because, of our behavior. So that is a myth that needs to be dispelled. Now, if you are a woman and you suspect you have ADHD, it really is a good idea to try and get a diagnosis if you haven't already, because it really does, not that we want to put a label on anything, I'm not big on labels, but it does provide you with some clarity on kind of what's going on in your world, and maybe gives you that aha moment, like, all right, now it's kind of making sense. Many women I've worked with went in to take a son or daughter in for an ADHD diagnosis, and then the light bulbs went off on their own life. So here's the other one that comes up all the time: is medication is the only treatment for ADHD. And of course, medication is an individual choice. It can be an effective treatment for managing some of our ADHD symptoms, but you gotta realize that it's not your only option. Many people I work with actually do not take medication. And as well as I do that taking medication isn't going to help you manage your time and your workload more effectively. It's just not going to happen. Medication will not miraculously stop you from procrastination. And certainly ADHD meds are not going to stop you from misplacing items or being a people pleaser, right? So that's where we got to implement other kind of strategies: coaching and mentorship, self-awareness, lifestyle changes, and, accommodations can be incredibly beneficial. And I always say that people should, at some point, if you're an adult with ADHD, just go through some coaching and mentorship, because those plans can be tailored to your individual needs. And you can implement like a combination of approaches depending on who you're working with and your career and your job and your family and all the other elements that surround you. So I like to say when I work with people, I meet them where they are. We pretty much start at ground zero and go from there. There's no solid program that people go through, because your challenges might not be somebody else's challenges. So, but again, medication is not your only route. So here's one. Everyone has a little ADHD, right? How many times have you heard that before? Yeah, right. Okay. So I think it's common for people to use the term ADD conversationally to describe occasional forgetfulness or distractibility. But these people who say this got to understand that this is that clinical diagnosis that involves some persistent, challenges, and some of us impairments, and significant challenges that can impact some of our daily functioning. Occasional forgetfulness or being distracted is not the same as having ADHD, and you know that, and I know it drives you nuts too, like, oh my God, I'm so ADD. No, you're not. You have no idea what you're talking about. This is what I want to say to some of these people, right? So, but I think this will make some of us with ADHD angrier than the other myths, because the people who say this have no idea how challenging and even debilitating for some of us with ADHD it can be sometimes. I mean, it can be a major, major challenge. I don't mind jokes about ADHD, but don't say everybody has a little ADD, because that tells me you have a fundamental misunderstanding of what other people are dealing with. And here's the other one that I've heard from time to time, not so much as the last one, but people with ADHD are not intelligent or smart, And here's what I know. Some of the people I have had the pleasure of working with one-on-one as a mentor, are some of the most intelligent people I know. From PhDs to CEOs to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, busy executives I've worked with. There is no correlation between intelligence and ADHD. People with ADHD, as you know, because you are a busy adult, can have above average intelligent levels. You people are smart and you know it. However, you might just face some challenges, in your work settings and difficulties with paying attention and organizing and that impulsivity and coming up with systems and routines. And, maybe your workload is massive and you need to figure out how to schedule and prioritize and block out time and all that. Okay. But don't ever let anybody tell you that you're not smart or you're not intelligent. That kind of pisses me off. So, and you know what? I'll leave you with this. I would really hazard to guess, some of probably the most important inventions and furtherings of technology and everything else in our lifetimes have probably been developed from somebody with a different brain, right? I know it. So, all right, that's it. That's the podcast for today. Just thought I'd bring up some obvious myths and perceptions that we continue to deal with on a regular basis and have a laugh or two or get armed to go out there and tell people that they don't know what they're talking about, and we do. So some of us can't get out of our own way, and it's not because we're lazy. It's because we legitimately have this thing called ADHD. So speaking of getting out of your own way, you need some help. You need somebody side by side to help you through a rough patch. You're getting busy at work. Life changes. Hit me up at overcomingdistractions.com. All right, cool. Catch you guys next time.